It is shortly after midnight on June 6, 1944. High above Normandy, 6 Horsa gliders cut silently through the darkness. No engines, no lights, only the faint rush of wind sliding across their wooden skins. Below them lie the black mirrors of the Caen Canal and the River Orne, 2 narrow bridges barely visible, yet decisive for the entire eastern flank of the Allied invasion. In the lead glider sits Major John Howard, straps tight, pulse steady, eyes fixed on the faint shapes beneath the clouds. His men sit in tense silence. They know the truth: there is no second wave, no reinforcement on standby, no rescue if this fails. The fate of a large section of Sword Beach depends on a few dozen men landing in the right place at the right second. By early 1944, Germany was strategically overextended. The Eastern Front consumed divisions, the Luftwaffe had lost much of its former strength, and fuel shortages hampered every movement. Yet the Wehrmacht remained dangerous. If given a clear axis and intact mobility routes, its armored units could still strike with speed and violence. The Allied planners of Operation Overlord understood that the German counterattack would be most potent in the first hours of D-Day. While fleets, airborne forces, and infantry stormed the beaches, small surgical operations behind enemy lines had to secure terrain that could otherwise overturn the entire invasion. East of Caen, 2 small bridges formed exactly such a point. If the Germans held them, their armor could reach Sword Beach rapidly. If the British took them, the door would be closed. D Company of the 6th Airborne Division, under Major Howard, had practiced this mission endlessly. Full-scale wooden models of the bridges had been built in southern England. The men rehearsed every step, routes, angles, distances, actions on contact, until muscle memory replaced thought. When the real moment came, nobody would need instructions. They would simply execute. At 0013 hours, the tow ropes snapped free. The tugs peeled away and vanished into cloud. Inside the gliders, silence deepened. The pilot whispered, "Speed holding. Steady descent," someone muttered. "We're low." Focus. Howard lifted his hand. "Focus." Then, through a gap in the clouds, the canal appeared, a dark, straight cut in the landscape. The men leaned forward, bracing for impact. At 0016 hours, the first glider struck the ground with crushing force. Wood splintered, metal shrieked, the fuselage skidded across the field, tore through brush, and slammed to a halt less than 50 meters from the bridge. Men stumbled out, dazed but moving. The second glider smashed into an embankment, its pilot knocked unconscious. The third crashed near a ditch, its soldiers momentarily stunned. The fourth and fifth landed farther out, and their men sprinted toward the objective. The sixth glider hit the earth violently, injuring several, but even they forced themselves forward. A German sentry approached the crash site, confused by the noise, raising a flare pistol. He never fired it. The silent assault remained silent. Howard gave short, rapid orders. First platoon on the canal bridge, second platoon on the Orne bridge, flank groups north and south, engineers underneath the structure immediately. No hesitation. A German machine gun barked from a bunker near the canal. Short, frantic bursts stitched the darkness. British Bren gunners responded immediately, cutting controlled arcs of fire across the bank. Riflemen pushed forward, slipping through shadows, hugging the iron frame of the bridge. A German soldier tried to reposition and fell under a volley of fire. Under the canal bridge, the engineers worked fast. First line, the cutting tool snapped. A second wire cut again. Dirt and rust fell into their faces as they crawled along the beams. The explosive charges were rendered useless within minutes. More Germans appeared at the far end of the bridge, rifles and MP-40, hurried shouts. Their fire was scattered, confused, not coordinated. The British answered with precision. A grenade exploded near the embankment, showering both sides with earth. The defenders fell back, unclear whether they faced a platoon or a battalion. By 0026 hours, only 10 minutes after landing, the canal bridge was effectively captured. Howard ordered firing positions fortified. Men redistributed ammunition. Casualties were pulled into cover. Light machine guns covered the causeways. The Orne bridge followed almost as quickly, taken by surprise in the same way. A German armored scout car rolled toward the canal bridge, headlights off, engine low. Howard's hand rose. Hold! The vehicle crept forward. Now, Bren bursts and a PIAT round slammed into it. Flames licked from the engine bay. The 3-man crew bailed out and fled. To watching German units, it looked like a strong British force held the bridge. For a moment, the battlefield fell into an eerie stillness. Then came distant shouting. A probing German patrol attempted to close in from the north, firing sporadically as they advanced. British fire pushed them back. The darkness hid everything except muzzle flashes. Between 0100 hours and 0200 hours, scattered paratroopers from the 6th Airborne reached the bridges. Some were limping, others missing equipment, but every man added depth to the defense. They slotted into the perimeter without instruction. A corporal muttered, "Feels like the whole German army is out there." Another answered, "Good, let them come." While the British stabilized their positions, the German chain of command struggled to understand what had happened. Initial reports to the 716th Infantry Division described a crash of 1 or 2 large aircraft near the canal. A second message suggested enemy saboteurs. A third mentioned multiple landings. Radio operators misheard or misinterpreted details. A staff officer wrote in a log, "Unclear. Possibly gliders, possibly paratroops." The divisional headquarters at Caen called out to local security elements near Bénouville. Some replied that they heard firing but saw no enemy. Others believed the British had taken a nearby house. A patrol leader reported heavy resistance from what he assumed to be a larger commando force. In reality, he had run into 1 Bren team and 2 riflemen. The 21st Panzer Division, stationed south of Caen, received fragments of these reports. One officer insisted the attack must be small. Another warned that the bridges were a critical corridor. Their commander hesitated. He requested permission from higher command before committing armor in the dark. The request was not answered quickly. German doctrine did not encourage unilateral night armor movements. Roads were narrow, terrain uncertain, visibility poor. Mines or ambushes could devastate a column, and if the British had secured the bridges, a hasty attack might lose tanks before dawn. Confusion, caution, and contradictory messages built an invisible fog around the German response. 2:30 hours, a German attempt to probe the canal bridge from Bénouville began. A light mortar fired 3 rounds, their explosions kicking dirt onto British positions. A squad advanced low, rifles tight to shoulders. They almost reached the outer fence before a Bren gun ripped through the silence. The squad scattered. One man dropped his weapon and crawled away bleeding. The mortar crew hesitated, then fell back. The night swallowed them. Between 0300 hours and 0400 hours, more German runners moved between farmhouses carrying messages. A Feldwebel barked orders to form ad hoc blocking positions. 1 machine gun team set up behind a stone wall, but lost their loader to a single British shot moments later. Another pair tried to circle around using a ditch, whispering to each other, only to be spotted by an airborne soldier who pinned them down with a short burst. Inside the British perimeter, exhaustion crept in. A few men fought to stay awake. One soldier whispered, "I hear footsteps." Another replied, "That's the river." A third added, "No, that's boots." Moments later, a German scout appeared at the edge of the clearing, silhouetted for an instant before disappearing under a volley of rifle fire. Around 0500 hours, faint dawn light began to touch the horizon. Shapes became more defined. A German squad attempted a flanking maneuver along the southern bank. They moved crouched and deliberate, but British positions had been sighted in advance. Rifle shots cracked, sending 2 Germans tumbling. The rest retreated, dragging a wounded comrade. Meanwhile, behind German lines, officers of the 21st Panzer Division finally obtained clearer information. British airborne units were indeed holding both bridges. The division attempted to prepare a coordinated response, but elements were already moving independently. Some tanks began warming engines. Others awaited instructions. A company commander argued for a dawn attack. Another warned of British anti-tank positions. A liaison officer demanded clarity from Caen. No consensus emerged in time. By 0600 hours, additional airborne troops trickled in from scattered drop zones. Some were bruised, others soaked from marshland landings, but every new arrival strengthened the defense. They shared ammunition, repositioned machine guns, adjusted firing arcs, and dragged more wounded into shelter. The British had turned the bridges into a hardened node. At 0700 hours, the low hum of engines approached. Out of the morning haze emerged the troops of No. 4 Commando under Lord Lovat. Their arrival linked the airborne forces with the units landing on Sword Beach. The corridor was open. The bridges were secure. The capture of the Caen Canal and Orne bridges stabilized the most vulnerable section of D-Day. Without them, German armored forces could have reached Sword Beach rapidly, striking the British in their flank during the most fragile hours of the invasion. By losing the only rapid crossings, German counterattacks were forced into long, disjointed detours, arriving separately rather than en masse. That delay allowed British forces to fortify their positions, evacuate wounded, and fully establish contact with the 6th Airborne Division. Throughout the Normandy campaign, the bridges remained a crucial anchor on the eastern flank of Caen, enabling sustained supply lines, holding the front together, and preventing German armored breakthroughs. Their capture prevented a potentially catastrophic strike against the invasion's right flank and ensured that the Allies could build the foothold in France that would ultimately lead to Germany's defeat.